Hi, Megan. Hi,
Hi.
hi, Megan and Megan. How's that?
Hi,
Hi.
too.
That's the first
Yay.
time I've had to do that and say hi to the Megans, plural.
I
Yeah.
think you should be the one who's sandwiched, not our guest.
I know, right? But
We have
our
a
guest does need to
contest.
be prominently displayed in the middle.
I know. I know. So for anyone who's watching, we have Meghan Brady is an equine wellness practitioner, mentor, and entrepreneur who bridges body work, energy alignment, and business strategy to help equine professionals create careers that actually feel sustainable. She's the founder of STRIDES Mentorship, a 6-month coaching framework designed to help practitioners align their energy, build solid systems, and confidently expand their businesses without burnout. Through STRIDES, she guides equine entrepreneurs in understanding their unique strengths, refining their offers, strengthening client boundaries, and creating the structure they need to grow with ease. Meghan is also the founder of Equestrian Travel Association, a global membership organization dedicated to raising the bar in equine travel. ETA accredits stables and destinations around the world, ensuring exceptional horse welfare, ethical riding experiences, and high quality adventure opportunities for travelers. The association offers a gold membership program. Destination features a Galloping Getaways podcast and an expanding directory to help riders choose trusted, welfare focused travel experiences. She's also the author of Passion to Professional and a longtime equine bodyworker known for her ability to read subtle patterns in horses and in humans and turn them into clarity, intention, and aligned action. I love it. Welcome, Meghan.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Yay! Maybe we could start with how did horses first come into your life?
Mhm. Yeah. So my mom bought a horse. She always wanted to have horses when she was growing up. And then, so when I was about 3 years old, she went out and bought a Tennessee walking horse. And so I was introduced to horses at a very young age. I got my first pony when I was 4. She bought one of those circus ponies that just goes left, that you just see at the carnivals. And that's how it all started. So very young age. And then I started taking formal lessons when I was like 6 or 7. Yeah. So I definitely started, it was in my blood from a very early age.
Yeah. What moment made you realize equine bodywork was going to be your career?
So, like I said, I grew up riding. I grew up doing the hunter jumpers, and then I got into dressage later in high school. And that's a story in itself. And then I went to college, and I graduated with a psychology degree, and I actually worked in a psychiatric hospital for children who had a horse therapy program. So my first kind of career was actually I was a therapeutic riding instructor and physical therapist for people in that realm. And then I started working with adults a lot, and so I was really seeing that the imbalances of the asymmetries of humans and how they were really affecting the horses. And as you know, in the therapeutic riding programs, they're all, retired from like 3 careers. So they're also coming to the table with, their own physical issues. And so this was, before body work was as big as it is today. So I went back to school for human massage because at the time there wasn't really any programs for equine. This was back in 2005. And so I went back to school for human massage. And then within that, I started meeting people, and I met a woman who did equine, and I got certified in equine massage through the program that I went through for human. And then it kind of just evolved over time. I just wanted to do it part-time at first and kind of help the horses that I was, that were in our programs. And then in 2010, I got my more certifications. I got my master's in method certification, and it kind of just snowballed, and I went full time then in 2010.
Okay, I'm gonna back up a little. So let's go all the way back to your little pony that only went left. Was that like a little Western saddle? Did you ride bareback? And then how did you get from a little pony that only went left to, you said you started out kind of hunter jumper world?
Yeah. So, I was I would go to the barn with my mom, and my mom got me this little pony, and then, I would just ride around it. She had a little Western saddle, and there was actually a pond on the property, and I would take the pony swimming and things like that. But the pony didn't last too long in our lives, unfortunately, because it really only wanted to turn left. And so every time I wanted to go right, it would buck me off. And so now looking back, there was probably obviously some, other issues going on. So we actually donated the pony, because it was a little Shetland pony, to there was a therapeutic riding program at that farm too. So we donated it to that. And then I started taking just lessons, up down lessons when I was, 5 or 6. And then that kind of just evolved into, I leased a pony for like 4 years, did the pony club thing, and I did the 4-H thing. And then I grew up in Pennsylvania, so the next thing was to get a thoroughbred. And so I got an off-a-track thoroughbred, and that's when I started getting from the hunter jumpers into more, I got into dressage a little bit. I was taking lessons down at Hilltop Farm in Maryland, with Jill Hessler. And so then it kind of just, evolved from there. Yeah.
Wow, an off-the-track thoroughbred. That, yeah. I think a lot of people have done that. It's actually really great because they need to go somewhere, but makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people who have gotten thoroughbreds off the track, and they end up either hunter jumper or maybe even eventing.
Yeah. My first, his name was Take a Chance, and I got him as a
great name.
Yeah, I got him as a 3-year-old, and we did low level hunter jumpers, and then I wanted to do more than what he was, able to do. And so I sold him to a little girl who wanted to, and he had a great life after that. So, yeah.
There we go. So for people who aren't familiar, how do you explain what equine bodywork really is?
Yeah. So equine bodywork is, we're like physical therapists for horses. That's how I describe it. It depends on the therapists themselves, on the modalities that they are trained in. You can be trained in more of like sports massage, or cranial sacral, or myofascial release, or structural integration, or structural integration, or nerve release. There's like a litany of modalities. So it is kind of a little bit on what the body worker is trained to do. But it's really about getting the horse in alignment through soft tissue. So really releasing the soft tissue and really getting their nervous system to be in that parasympathetic state, in that relaxed state, so they can have the ability to release and become in alignment. So that is our goal as therapists, as massage therapists or body workers. And so I am a firm believer that we should work as a team with horses. So work with your trainers, your vets, your farriers. Your farriers are such a huge component to this, because without no hoof, no horse, if there's something going on with their hoof, their feet, there's really nothing I can do from, not nothing, but it's really hard to help those compensations that are there in the body when they're compensating for something that's in their feet, because they need those compensations. So I think body work is like the umbrella word, and then there's little spokes in that umbrella on what specifically each body worker or therapist does.
Okay, I got another one. How would I decide to pick a body worker? Like, let's say I know nothing about body work and I think my horse needs help.
Yeah.
How would I choose? Or do I ask the body worker, have them out, and then like, what if I just am like, this isn't working? Give us some advice.
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is something that a lot of people ask me about. And also people who've gone through trainings will ask me about this as well, certain trainings. So my biggest thing is, if you are a horse owner who wants a body worker out, please ask them about their education and what modalities they do, where they went to school, how long was their schooling, did they have hands-on experience, things like that. Because I will say that especially during COVID and then since, there has been a lot of popping up of online programs that, are weekend courses, or I'm certified in, a weekend, and there's no hands-on training. And I will say this, you need that education. You need to be with a person that is hands-on teaching you things, because you can do damage. You can do a lot of damage to these animals if you're not trained. So if you are an owner or a trainer, or if you want somebody to come out, I would highly recommend talking to them, finding out what modalities they are trained in, what it looks like. Ask them. I mean, it is no problem for me to, if someone asks, like, what does a session look like? What do you do? And ask as many questions as you want. And I will say this, if they come out and they start doing something that you are uncomfortable with, feel free to stop them and ask them questions on why they're doing it. And if you are even uncomfortable with that, ask them to stop, please. Because I have, unfortunately, I do some consulting with some, other body workers and vets. And I've come to, unfortunately, across cases where people have hired people who are not appropriately trained, and they have done significant damage to the horses, and the owners didn't say something, and they knew something was not right. So my biggest thing is educate, and ask for a referral. Also, go to your vets, ask for a referral, talk to other people who use body workers.
There we go. Sorry, was on mute. I didn't want to come unmuted. So do you only work on equines, or does your training cross over to other animals? Of course, people usually have, either a dog or a cat or both, or multiples of all of it, or, and some may have, other animals. So does it cross over?
It does. It can. I do have, I have worked on dogs before, and I have actually worked on cattle before. Yeah, I had a friend of mine who had show cattle, and she would ask me to work on them. But I will say specifically, my training is just strictly in equine and human. But they are you can cross over. You just have to be careful, especially with dogs. You're working with predator versus a prey animal, and so their releases or their reactions will be different than an equine.
I know you're gonna ask. So can you tell us about what the difference is? I've never even thought about that. And it just was like a light bulb, like, duh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we work with horses. So their first reaction is to usually flee, right? Or get away from the pressure if it's too much, or, their reaction is to maybe kick or bite or things like that. But usually it is to move away. Like that is their first reaction. Where with a dog, if you're not careful, their first reaction is to bite. And so thankfully I have not had that experience, and also dogs their attention span during a massage or body work is quite shorter than a horse. Maybe not a baby horse, but like just in general. And so your techniques are a little bit shorter, and you need to give them a little bit more breaks in between than maybe you would with a horse.
So Megan and I live in Wisconsin, which is and actually we live in the county, which is the home of the World Dairy Expo.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, those cows are, I could see you working on cattle, because those cows are or the cows and bulls are very well treated, and they're worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
I just never thought of that. And what about you,
No.
Megan? Have you ever thought about body work on a cow or a bull?
Well, I've had the luxury of dating and marrying dairy farmers, and yes, it does happen. Mm-hmm. It does happen. But I do have a question. What's one of the most powerful transformations you've seen in a horse through body work?
Ooh. That's a tough one. I've been doing this for a long time, so that is a tough one. I would say that the most like significant change that I've ever seen is I worked at a program. It's called Utopia, and out in California. And she has some, I wouldn't say rescues, but I would say that some of her horses have come from training situations that are not ideal. How's that? And that they were, I would say they were abused in a training way. And so there was one horse, he was an ex-jumper, who was definitely had severe things happen to him. He had a lot of, you can see he was probably electrocuted with spurs. His tongue was completely lacerated. It looked like he had, they put barbed wire on the bit. It was a really god awful situation. Needless to say, I would go there and work on other animals because he was extremely violent. He was extremely violent towards other animals and humans, to the point where he was unable to be led. She just would have to open gates to get him from like his stall to outside, and vice versa. So he was one that I was going there for about a year. And every time I was going there, I would just stand near his stall. That's all I would do. And horses, when you do body work, they are really, as we all know, they're very sensitive, and they're very sensitive to energy. And I would be working on a horse maybe next to his stall, and I would see him start releasing and start relaxing a lot. And so this went on, like I said, for about a year. And then before I would leave, I would just stand near his stall, and he would come after you. Like, you had to be really careful. And so one day I was standing outside his stall, and he came up to me, and I told her that I would like to try to work on him in some capacity. And so the next time I came out, we put him in a round pen because I wanted it to be safe. and be able to, because he could be, violent and aggressive. And I stood in the round pen with him, and I just waited till he came up to me, and he let me, it was so interesting. He let me work around his like pectorals, like his sternum area and wither area. And as we know, the wither area is where horses greet each other. And so he let me, and it was just for 3 minutes, he let me do that. And so over the course of like the next 6 months, I was able to work on him. I got up to 25 minutes, and he was able to then be led around by people, not everyone, certain people. And I think that was like the biggest transformation, because this animal went from not trusting a soul, nor should he, to doing this. And I mean, obviously there was other factors going on, and she worked with him as well. But the fact that he allowed me to even work on him eventually for 20, 25 minutes and trusted me, and like his body completely changed. He completely turned into a different animal. And that's probably my biggest, one of those ones that like I cried that day. Like I absolutely cried. And, there's others, like I work with like performance horses that have made huge comebacks after being rehabbed for, years and things like that. But I think that one like held really dear to my heart, because he was just, he was just an animal that had no reason to trust anybody. And I was able to do body work. And body work is one of those things where when horses release, it is such a vulnerable position for them. When they're out in the wild, they don't do that. They hide in their herd when they go to release and things like that. So for him to trust and to even like lick and chew and yawn in front of a human like that it's just a testament to how these animals can really let go and live in the moment and are so trusting to us.
We have a question from one of our viewers. How long do the treatments for therapy take? And, I realize that can vary, but speak to the average.
Yeah. So I always say we're on the horse's time, right? So I would say typically anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 to an hour and a half. I will say that I do work on some young horses, some babies, and their attention span is shorter. It might be 20 minutes, but we are on the horse's time, and we're not only on the horse's time, but we're on the horse's body and what they're willing to release that day and what they're willing to, where they're at. So we have to meet them with where they're at as well. But I would say typically 45 minutes to an hour and 15, give or take.
Okay, I have another question, and this is a word you use quite a bit. What does release look like for horses or dogs or cats?
Yeah. So with horses, releases could be everything from, you'll see them, they start actually blinking really rapidly. That's like usually the first sign that they're processing something in their body. And so when that starts to happen, you kind of want to wait it out. You don't really want to move. You kind of want to stay there with them. You want to hold that space for them. And then, you'll see licking and chewing. You'll see yawning. You might see a full body shake. You'll see them stretch. You'll see, let's see, I'm trying to think of all the big ones that we always say. They'll even start right before they release. I call it the fidget. Like they'll start fidgeting a lot, and then they'll start relaxing. A big sigh, changes in breath, all that is releasing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What inspired you to create STRIDES? Tell us about the mentorship.
Yeah. So, like I said, I've been doing this since 2006, technically. And so back in 2018, I actually was living out in California and I got hurt. And so it happens, you know? And so I was actually working with a business coach myself. And at the time I was helping, people were contacting me about helping them start business, a bodywork business. And so I was just doing it kind of on the side. And my mentor was like, you should start coaching these people. Like, I know for myself, when I went to school, no one taught me the business side of things. Everybody just, taught me the modalities, taught me how to, deal with, techniques and the horses and things like that. But no one taught me how to deal with the owners, or how to build a business, or pricing, or boundaries, or travel time, or all that kind of stuff. Or even like I really had to figure out what I wanted my niche to be. There's so many aspects of the horse industry that you can go into, everything from a discipline to a modality to whatever. And so I actually started the STRIDES program during COVID. And so that's when it started. And it started a little bit different than I have it now. It just started as like my one-on-one clients that I was coaching. It was just a Facebook group that we just, would, talk, business stuff in there, and, ended up being, kind of like a community like that. And then 2003, I developed the STRIDES that it is now. So it's a 6-month cohort where we go month to month and we meet each month, and it's open to all equine entrepreneurs. It's not just body workers.
Yeah, that was my main question, because when I heard about it, I was like, can I sign up? Because it sounds like I need it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so how the program works is, the first 2 months are about alignment, getting into alignment of what you want, where you want, like, what are your business goals? What do you want to do? Everything from how many hours you want to work a week, to how much money you want to make, to how much travel you want to do, to, whatever that is for wherever you are in the horse industry. And then, you align, then you build, and then you can expand. That's kind of the process of the 6 months. And so each month we do a live training, and then that Facebook group, we still, have that community where we're talking, and there's a live training, and then 2 weeks later we just get together and talk, basically. Questions people come up with, or, whatever, just to kind of check in.
And how does someone find out more information about this other than Barn Besties?
Yeah. So you can go to my website, meghanbrady.us, and they are, it's under the STRIDES program.
Ta-da! Here we are.
You are.
Can everybody see it? Both Megans, can you see it?
Yep.
We can see it. Where did they go?
Where do we go? Tell us, direct me around. This is your website.
You can just click on services. And if you scroll down,
I won't go so fast.
STRIDES Mentorship Program. And there you have it.
I have a question. If someone is unsure whether STRIDES is right for them, what would you tell them?
So we can set up, I do a 30-minute free kind of discovery call to see if that's appropriate. And so if somebody wants to do that, they can just email me, and we can set that up. Because sometimes it might not be appropriate. Absolutely. Sometimes people need more one-on-one. Some people, I do have an online course. Some people just want to do that. It just depends. Or some people, it's just not, maybe they're not there in their in their life yet. You know, I have people contacted me who are just starting their schooling, and I'm, you know, that's great, but I do think like you need to be a little bit further in your schooling before you want to start thinking about building a business.
I think this is just wonderful because Stephanie and I have been talking about our industry, and that's why we started Barn Besties, is we want to help people. And I think this is a wonderful program. I think it's for everyone. And yeah, I want to look into it and talk to you after the live stream. Maybe when I settle down in January, I would love to do that after the holidays. What's one common challenge you see equine entrepreneurs struggle with, and how do you think Strides can help them overcome it?
Burnout. I think we all, myself included, that's, you know, we all are burnt out. And I do think we want to help so many people and help horses specifically, all of us. And we struggle with saying no. I would say that's the biggest thing that people struggle with. And when people are first starting out, I think, and I know I did this myself starting out, is I took on people that were not in alignment with who I am, if that makes sense. Yep.
Took me a minute to unmute. Is there anything else on here you'd like me, if we're on your site, and I think it covers maybe a little bit more. And you mentioned you're in development and adding more stuff to your site. Do you want to talk about any of this? Show people?
Yeah. So right now, this is my mentorship program. This is all about what I do for mentorship, but I do have another website that is geared towards solely my bodywork. But on here, you can also go to services. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I will switch back. But we can go into that. I have that all ready to go. Okay, so go ahead and go to services or about. I'm sorry.
You can go to services.
Okay.
Yeah. And so on there, you can see if you want to sign up for one-on-one coaching. I also have some live trainings and webinars that I do once a month. And so I'll be releasing 2026 on what those will be, so people can sign up for those. And then I do have an online course that people can take, and that is how to build and grow your bodywork business, which I'm working on another one that will be launched in January.
I'm trying not to go too fast because I know it can be a little nauseating if you do that. Ooh, look at that. We have some sort of pop-up here. My computer. Anything you want to point out on here? Or?
So that is one big course, but there's also mini courses if people want to. You can learn specifically, you know, how to find your niche. You don't have to take the whole big shebang. There are mini courses that you can, and you'll scroll down, see that there's the mini courses. There's different bundles. So there's the big track, and then there's two different bundles, I call them. And one is, and then within that, you can even just buy individual courses on what, you know, if you just want to learn about attracting new clientele, or, you know, how the impact of technology in the horse industry is happening, or finding your niche, like what do you really want to do in the horse industry, or what kind of clients you want to work with, things like that.
This is great. Now, if somebody buys one of the bundles, how long do they have access to the course? Forever?
Forever.
So they can come back and kind of refresh themselves. And
you have it. And then they also have access to any, like if you buy the big, you know, ultimate course, then anything I add, you have access to. So like anyone who bought it like early last year, they also got, I just added had like the sponsor the rider, because I had a lot of people come to me and say like, I'd like to sponsor a rider. I don't really know how that works. Like even from a contract point of view, like how many bodywork sessions should I give them in terms of how many referrals I should get. So I did a course on that. So if anything new I add to the course, you just get then after that.
I see some very good topics, working with other professionals.
Yes, that's a big one that I feel like a lot of people don't. I mean, when I started out and, there wasn't, like I said, this was 20 years ago, I shadowed whoever I could. I shadowed farriers, I shadowed vets, I shadowed chiropractors, I shadowed acupuncturists. I like went to anything I could get my hands on just to learn. And I just don't see people doing that as much. And I think that is such a huge asset for what we can bring to the table if we can start working with other professionals and work as a team. Because, what I see isn't maybe what you see. You're coming at it from a different perspective than I am. I'm coming at from a bodywork perspective, but you're coming from it from a trainer's perspective, or, a farrier's perspective, or a vet's perspective. And I think that's really so important that we see the whole picture.
I'm interested in talking about the social media one, because social media, yes, continues to expand and evolve, but I almost feel like it peaked. It had an initial peak and then it dropped, and then I feel like it exploded during COVID because we were all locked in our houses, bored out of our minds, sick of the TV, so we went online. And I feel like now that we're getting a little bit of a clap back from that, and it's there's almost just so much that gaining your footing in the social media. I mean, Megan and I, it's a daily challenge for us. We are, we work every day at trying to gain subscriber by subscriber, or follower by follower, however you want to call it, and earning people's, returning interest. Like, okay, they might have watched a video, but come back.
Yeah.
Like, it's so like, where are you finding social media?
So I think I've struggled with it over the years. I mean, when I first started, there wasn't an Instagram and TikTok and all that. It was just Facebook. And so it was kind of easy, because we just had that one thing. And so when I tell people, I always say, just focus on like 2 platforms. Because if you start focusing on too many, it becomes so overwhelming, as you know, and especially when you're working, it's like another job. And so if you just focus on 2 platforms, whether it's Facebook or and Instagram, because, of Meta, it's interchangeable. So it's kind of easier that way. And then you can kind of move on, and then you can just take that content and recreate it for other things. But I would say just my biggest advice to people is to focus on 1 or 2 platforms that you're comfortable with to start. And the goal is never to sell anything on social media. The goal is to educate. That's what I always say. You just want to educate your audience always. This isn't to, hey, buy something from me. This is always about educating your audience. And I think that in itself will create a following and create people coming back.
Can't agree more. So Megan and I, because there's 2 of us, I feel like we do a pretty good job of tag teaming on this. Facebook is a huge platform, and Instagram feeds to Facebook. Unfortunately, Facebook doesn't feed to Instagram, so that's been, it's interesting. But it's interesting you're talking about selling things, because I feel like TikTok and Instagram, maybe more TikTok in some respects, but are like huge marketplaces. All the brands have Instagram, and they're constantly pushing you to their website or shop. but TikTok blew up during COVID, and it's just full of people linking to the TikTok shop and trying to sell stuff. And I mean, there are people who make six-figure incomes, but the new people trying to do it are struggling, and the rules are not really clear. And I don't know. We're struggling to get any footing on TikTok, but I think Megan and I agree. We're our main platforms are YouTube here, and then
Yeah.
of course Facebook.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree, Megan?
Yeah, well, I kind of lean on you because you're the guru. I just want to stick with horses. but here, but I do think like that's why we started Barn Besties, is all about education and creating a resource that we can all come together, understand where we're coming from, and hopefully be able to connect and support one another. I mean, that's really our goal. I'm going to take a 180 on this, and I'm going to ask you about the Equestrian Travel Association. I want to, because I need a vacation.
Yeah. I get it.
This sounds amazing. What inspired you to create this?
Yeah. So when I was building my bodywork business, I didn't have a horse myself, and I wanted to ride. And I was actually, when I was building my business, I was living in an RV and I was traveling the country. And I was going all over and meeting people. And I just, was really trying to build. And I was going to these places where you can, go on a beach ride or go to a dude ranch for a couple of days. And I actually had a blog and was writing about all my experiences. And I had some fabulous experiences, like, oh my gosh. And then I went to some places that weren't so good. And to the point where on 2 places I had to call like large animal control because it was that bad. So what I quickly realized during this is that I take for granted what I know about horses because I grew up doing this my whole life. It's like it just comes so second nature to me. But a lot of people who do these day trips, especially, they're not horse people. They're at the beach and want to go ride a horse on the beach. So, and they don't know what their feet should look like or what a fitted saddle looks like or what, any of that. And so that's how it started. That was the idea. And so I was like, as we know, there's no real regulations in our industry. And so I thought this needs to be done. And so that's how it started. So I started the Equestrian Travel Association actually in 2011. And we pretty much audit and vet our members. So we're not a travel agent. We are an association. So we represent, outfitters, day trips, multi-day trips, vacations, anything that has to do with horses and travel, basically. You want to go take a wine tour on horseback? And so we vet all of our gold members, and then we promote them to consumers. So that's what we do. Unfortunately, it was shut down. I had a closed shop. Basically, we lost half of our members. Half of our members lost their business during COVID. And so I kind of shut it down during that. And then I relaunched it in April of 24. So we're still rebuilding, but that's what we do. And then for 2026, we're doing some initiatives where we're partnering up with our members and doing equine wellness retreats. So people who want to go and, do, the resort thing or, have an actual vacation, but actually have some education around horses too.
Do we want to share a website?
Sure. It's rideeta.com.
Yep, I have it. I just need to go ahead and share again.
Yep.
Okay. Right there. Should be popping up shortly. Is this looking correct to you?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, look at this. At the very, very top, destinations: Africa, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, Central, South America, Europe, North America. Wow.
Yep. So if you go down a little bit, you can, if you're a traveler, you can go and kind of pick, if you go up top there, you can kind of pick your country that you want to go, what type of tour, if you want to do a multi-day tour or just a single day tour, your riding ability, beginner, expert, and then the type of experience. We have everything on there from, like I said, wine tours to cattle drives to dude ranches to resorts to, you name it. We got it. And then when you scroll down, you'll see some of our gold members listed there. But if you're looking for a specific country or something like that, then you can search there.
Wow. Woohoo, Megan. Yeah. I was just fooling around trying to be like, where could we send Megan? How about, where's a good place for
I was just in Portugal in June, and I had an amazing time.
I hear it's amazing there. Yeah. So where is your all-time favorite place?
Ooh. That's hard. I don't know that I can really, I just have had so many really cool experiences. Like I said, I went to, it's called 7D Ranch out in Montana. And that was an amazing experience that I had. And we got to, literally ride for 8 hours, and I saw grizzly bear and I saw like amazing wildlife out there. And I just, it was so awesome. And I also went out to California and did an endurance ride. Unfortunately, that business doesn't exist anymore, but it was such an amazing experience. This woman, she used to be an endurance rider. And so you had to be an experienced rider, but she would take you on a week-long kind of training, and you build up. In the end of the week, you did a 50-mile ride, and it was so cool. It was so cool. And like I said, I was just in Portugal. That was an amazing experience. And then I have a huge bucket list of everywhere I want to go. Iceland was amazing also. So, and riding Icelandic ponies is pretty cool.
It's amazing.
It is. It's so cool.
They are so cool. I don't know if you want to add anything, because I was just going to move on and ask you, and you wrote a book. You have done so many things. Do you, is there anything that we've missed, or should we talk about your book, Passion to Professional?
Yeah, you can go on to the book. It's fine. Yeah. So, that came out of my coaching and the online courses, and I wanted to make something a little bit more affordable for people. And it's something that I've always wanted to do. And so it is specifically I wrote it for body workers, but definitely pretty much anyone in the horse industry probably could, especially in the service end of things, could pick it up and get something out of it. So it talks about everything, like finding your niche, gaining clientele, retaining clientele, setting up boundaries, really self-care, all that things. And so it will be, there is pieces in the book that I'll have to update each year, because there is a social media piece and that constantly changes. I think it's outdated at this point because I wrote it last year and something's changed, I'm sure, since I wrote it. So there'll be updates every year on it. But it's something that I did last winter. I go to Florida for the winter, for body work and to get out of winter. And it was just something that I've been sitting on for a while. And I was just like, okay, this is the time. So
You said one thing, and I don't know if it's a chapter in your book, setting boundaries.
mm-hmm.
Can we just maybe have a little discussion on that? Because I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people do not understand that there needs to be boundaries. I know Megan loves getting text messages at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Isn't that great? No. Yes. So that is something that I have learned the hard way as well, you know, especially starting out. And I think, you know, we go into this, into horses because there's definitely a personality type, and we're caregivers, at our heart. And I think that comes along with some people pleasing, at times. And so I think it's really hard for us and we also know that what an investment it is to have a horse. And so I think it can be hard to set up boundaries for clients, but so important. And it's something that I teach in my one-on-one coaching and in the strides. And I wrote about it in the book about really figuring out what your boundaries are, because, you know, what's a boundary for you, Megan, it might not be a boundary for me, and vice versa. And really kind of establishing that up front with your clients, and not even like the text messages or the phone calls, but also like, you know, there's been lots of times I'd show up to the barn and, or a barn, and the horses aren't ready for me. And that's a huge boundary for me right now, because that's happened to me. Like, oh, they're out in the pasture, go get them. No, that's not my job. You know what I mean? And things like that. And I see that a lot with service industry, from farriers to body workers. I've seen that over the years a lot. And that is definitely a boundary that that I have crossed on my own. I'd be like, oh, I know they're busy, I'll just go do it. It's fine. Because we're all busy, right? And so, but really setting up those boundaries for yourself on what you're willing and not willing to do. And as well as how many hours you want to work in a day, and how many clients you want to see. And it's really easy to get to a barn, or, oh, I'll just do another lesson, it's fine. Or I'll just teach another lesson. Or a client grabs your ear at the barn and talks your ear off for another hour when you actually wanted to go home and make dinner, or, you know, all those things. And really just trying to like setting up those things, because that's also part of self-care, right? And if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to have nothing to give. So it's a huge topic that I talk about.
Yeah, I think that could be like several books on their own. Megan
Yeah.
and I have talked a lot about it throughout. We've been, you know, Barn Besties has been going for just a little over a year. And that's definitely one of the things we've come back to on a number of occasions. And we've talked about it in various different, you know, reasons we've pulled it up. You know, we've talked about it with barn owners, and like you mentioned earlier in this live stream, the burnout, because clients maybe don't understand that you've been in the barn for 11 and a half hours and you're done. It's time to go home and
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
your downtime. And they don't remember that, yes, they were at work for 8 hours, and then, you know, they went home and had dinner, and now it's 8 o'clock at night, and now they want your attention. But you've
Mhm.
been in the barn since 6 o'clock in the morning, and 8 o'clock is, you know, your
Mhm.
hard-boiled egg that's done, and you need to be done. It's
Yeah.
hard to, and I think, Megan, remind me or speak to this, but when you mentioned when you started your business, how much you wanted to be people pleasing, and the boundaries were not as
Mhm.
tall and strong as you are now in your business, and the learning curves, and
Mhm.
it's still a struggle, wouldn't you say? Okay, take off me. Comment here, woman.
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to Megan? No.
Both Megans. No, you Megan without the H.
Yeah, I think when you're first starting a business, well, I mean, all businesses, it's about financial
Mhm.
freedom, right? And so when you first, like for me, I took out a $60,000 loan and I had no clients, and I had my first monthly payment. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, and so I think when you that I set myself up as being vulnerable to that. That was my own mistake. And then now I will take anyone and everything, the horse that bucks you off, you know. So I became like, you know, the problem horse taker. And then anybody that came, I put up with anything. And then you just get into that, you know, that roller coaster, and to make ends meet. And like now like yourself, I'm mentoring people, and the biggest thing that I hear is, well, I don't want to be mean to anyone. And maybe you could talk about that. It's not about being mean, it's about protecting yourself.
Yeah. And I think there's a way to do it that it doesn't need to be mean, you know, like it doesn't have to be, you can just literally say, no, you can go, I just don't have the capacity to do that right now. I don't have the time. I've made other engagements. There's lots of ways around that, or just simply like, I know. Yeah. Like I don't, for me, I've gotten pretty strict with my boundaries, and, I feel like I get tested all the time, especially when I put up a new one. The universe is always like, are you sure? And, something for me is, and this is definitely specific for bodywork, but I think for training as well, I can't do my job and get results in one 60-minute session. You have to commit to the process a little bit, where before I'd be like, oh, it's just, it's money, one-off client here, one-off client there. And then, oh, fix this horse in an hour. And I'm like, this is impossible. And I was, would be driving all over creation, for one horse. And I set up some strong boundaries of like around my travel. Like if I'm coming to you and I'm driving this distance, this is the amount of animals I need. This is the amount of horses I need. And you have to, like, you're in my program. It's a program. And I think the same could be said for, as trainers as well. And also, the texting at night and all that stuff. And something I've also learned over the years is that if people don't want to call a vet out, they'll call me first, because obviously I'm not, the bill is a little cheaper. And I've always had very strong boundaries of, if you think you need to call a vet, you're calling a vet. You're not calling me or another body worker out, because I'm going to tell you, you're going to waste your money, because I'm not going to put my hands on the horse if it needs to see a vet. So I think starting there.
That's smart. And also what I did is, I wrote a welcome letter that kind of stated like common themes or patterns, that I didn't like. And so I just wanted to express before they even came for a lesson, these are my expectations. Kind of like for you, like I would prefer the horse in brushed before I work on your horse. I think that's common courtesy. I think that's a great thing, because at first I was like, really, why don't people understand it? Why do I have to write a welcome letter? But I think that's really important.
Yeah. And I send out, like, if I have a new client, and I usually talk to them on the phone first. So I set the tone, right then. This is the expectations. Also around payment. That was a big one that I had to learn the hard way. So around payment, around what I take for payment, and around my expectations of, what I expect, you need to be there. That's happened to me, where I show up and no one's at the barn and it's a new horse. Yeah. Oh, get him out of his stall. Like, no, that's not how this happens. So I just right out of the gate, these are the expectations. Yeah.
The same. I have a 24-hour cancellation policy, and it's always fun because it is in the welcome letter. And the first time it happens, it's like a cat and mouse game. And it's like, no, I can't fill that slot. I saved that slot for you. And I understand emergencies, but also I have instructors I still have to pay, my time, their time, the horse's time. So yeah, that's hard. Payment is super hard. Well, we have had you on for almost an hour.
Mhm.
And is there anything Stephanie and I forgot to ask or that you would like to include in this live stream?
She's asking you, Megan.
Oop.
Oh, maybe she didn't hear me. Megan, did you hear me?
No,
I don't
sorry.
think that's okay. So we've kept you on for about an hour. And so is there anything Stephanie and I forgot to ask you? Is there anything you'd like to include in the live stream?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot. Yeah.
I think we did too. Steph,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, thank you, because we've kind of gone all over the place with you, and I really appreciate it. It's been really good.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun.
Thank you so much. I look forward to delving into strides, actually.
Yeah. And if you need a vacation, I know where to go.
Yeah. And I just want to say thank you for creating strides. I mean, we need to help all of us professionals. I want to see our industry grow. And yeah, thank you for doing your part to do that.
Yeah, and I want to see the next generation come up, and you know, I don't want them to be discouraged.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, we
it's
flash.
building any business is hard, right? Any business. So the more support we have, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Is this website that's on the screen like the best
Yes.
point of launch to find you and
Yep. That would
connect
be
with you? And, did you want to mention, do you have any Facebook pages or anything you want to call out or talk about real quick?
Sure. My Facebook page is Meghan Brady Equine, and the same thing for Instagram and TikTok. Although I'm not always on there.
That's understandable.
My two are Instagram and Facebook.
All right. All right. And we will have, links down below in the description for people so
Yeah.
they can jump on to.
Yeah, and I will be redoing my website, so everything will be at meghanbrady.us. So all bodywork and mentorship. So I'll be combining that. So
Awesome.
good place.
Awesome. We got that on the screen, and we'll make sure it's down in the description. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody who has been watching. We really appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to call it a night. Have a great one. Stay warm.
Please have a good night.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye, everybody.